How Long Gone, coming to you live from the epicenter of the Santa Ana winds. Jason, the trees are swaying. People are covering their eyes walking down the street. There's fires. Is this the end for us?
It's another day in Cali, bro. Sound like a fucking pussy. Just kidding. I just closed my office window because it was too loud. Kind of Hurricane Alley over here in Glendale. It's a little different over in WeHo, I'm assuming.
No, it's not great. I mean, I did get an email alerting me that the Equinox West Hollywood was shutting down due to wind, which I would love some more explanation on, because I don't think the wind should affect the indoor gym.
I was going to ask, is the WeHo location an indoor offering?
Yeah, it's all out. It's all outside. No, it's also like it's not like it's on the 50th floor of a fucking skyscraper. You know what I mean? It's a 2-story building on Sunset Boulevard.
Right. And the second floor is mostly just floor Pilates.
It seems manageable.
Yeah, it seems odd. It seems a little bizarre. I did lose some bougainvillea on one of our statement walls.
Okay. Okay, are you good? Do you need me to come over? Are you going to be okay?
No, I'm not good. No, I'm not good.
So this tragedy is affecting you personally. It's not. This time it's personal.
Oh yeah. I mean, and also as a content creator, you're only as strong as your Wi-Fi signal, and I would say over under on this podcast. Making it 1 hour, oof.
I don't think that's.
It's as likely as Emilia Perez winning the golden. Oh my God, they did win. Never mind.
What the? I wish I knew what that movie was about, but I've seen a lot of discourse about it because I guess it's like
no one's ever heard of it.
It's pro-trans, and so people are mad. Like basically, people are like, well, you can't criticize it and say it's bad if you're gay or trans because it's, and I'm like, well, no, you definitely can.
I would say that is the definition of equality, which is something that I strive for every single day. We got to judge everyone on a fair-ish scale, and great, cool people make bad stuff sometimes, and if you encourage them, then it's not going to help anyone. Sometimes a great person makes a dumb movie. Happens hourly here in California, actually.
Well, that's, yeah, especially since movies are mostly bad. But I've learned a lot about Hollywood since the Golden Globes on Sunday. I learned that The Brutalist that everyone keeps talking about has only made $1 million. So no one's actually seen that 3-hour monstrosity that has a fucking intermission.
Yeah.
Which is pretty shocking.
But as friend of the show, David Cho pointed out in the most nerd tone I could imagine from a text message, the per screen dollar amount is going absolute bananas. Okay, so just
let me tell you how much I care. Let me tell you how much I care about per screen. I don't really. I mean, I'm sure it's good. It's just it's truly shocking that it has made that little amount of money.
I know, right? And it makes you wonder because I was listening to a friend of the show, Matt Bellany's pod, The Town, which is our favorite Hollywood industry insider info pod, whatever, and he was saying that this year was the first year at the Golden Globes where they had a literal scoreboard for movie studios.
Loved it.
So I have that in the back of my mind as like, this feels wrong, and it feels, it is cool in some ways, but it also kind of just feels like an auction, like a livestock auction where everyone is just wheeling out their fattest heifers. And
I mean, that's what it is.
I know,
that is what it is.
There used to be a little mystique, a little mystery, a little fun, a little romance. Like, hey, we're here to support and enjoy and celebrate the arts, not a bunch of guys in Century City who put some great deals together.
But those are the guys who actually matter, unfortunately.
One needs the other. But I had that in the back of my mind, and then Cho he kept talking about how it's all about securing the awards. Like, it's not about making. I thought it was about making money. Originally it was about making good art that will stand the test of time, last centuries, and be loved by millions forever. And then I realized it's about the money, and now everyone seems to be really focused on winning awards.
I think it's still about the money. I mean, let's not get it twisted.
Of course,
yeah, I mean, absolutely. But
I feel like this year specifically, 2025, there seems to be a real like people have algorithms and equations of like dollars spent versus awards won, as if a Golden Globe is going to keep the lights on.
Well, it'll get you. You'll get to do it.
It doesn't
again.
hurt, obviously.
Well, you'll get to do it again, and you'll have longer to do it and more money to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like I see why it's so important. I mean, I thought the
The
leaderboard.
statue is a little more runway.
I thought the leaderboard was really funny, and I think that should exist at every award show because it really takes the piss out of the whole thing in a way that I think people actually like. Because it's like these fucking Hollywood, like who cares? Like fuck these people.
I would say if I was ever an actor or anybody who would be famous enough to be invited to this or even maybe nominated for this, if that's what it's all about, then why do we need the celebrities there?
Because the camera has to have something to cut to, and if the celebrities don't wear clothes on the red carpet, no one watches it at all. I mean, it's like all the awards. It's like all the awards that they give away before the telecast.
I'm saying that if I was a celeb, that would be my fight song. If I was a celebrity, I like that saying. That would be my form of silent protest. That would be my Luigi.
I like that you think that these celebrities have a choice whether they go to this or not. It's in their contract.
I had a feeling you were going to bring up that angle. Had a feeling you were going to bring that angle up.
They don't have much of a choice. I mean, I'm sure some do. I mean, I'm sure like Al Pacino goes and does what he wants to do, but I don't think the fucking, America Ferrera has a choice whether she goes to an award show if she's lucky enough to be nominated. I'm just happy to be nominated. You know that, Jason. I'm just happy to be nominated. I'm happy for our work to get recognized.
I don't want to offend you. Your accent is it's pristine. Is it Dominican or is it Puerto Rican? I couldn't tell. I never thought I would feel bad for Kylie Jenner. It was sort of like when you're like in high school at the Thanksgiving family dinner. This has never happened to me, but it happens on TV in other people's lives who have families and stuff. But like when you're like not yet an adult table yet,
of course,
but you're still eating Cheerios type of shit.
I've lived that before. I mean, I don't know if
I felt bad because she has like multiple kids and like $1 billion and she's still not respected.
Yeah, bro, because she's in the wrong place. If she goes to the fucking mall, she'll be respected. If she goes to get a hand roll in Calabasas, she'll be respected. You ain't gonna be respected in a room full of actors.
Yo, bro, I'm good at any sushi park in the world, bitch. I'm good at any sushi park.
That's literally.
There's only one? Okay.
If she goes to Dubai, she's good. But anywhere else, it's not really. Yeah, I mean, they ain't checking for her like that. And rightfully so. I think it's kind of like everybody should be. I often need to get put in my place, and Kylie Jenner is no different.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like she needs to be reminded that tonight is about her man and his portrayal of Bob Dylan, and that's what's important here.
I would say cue Blink-182. I guess this is growing up.
This is growing up.
Friend of the show, Chris Black, as well as friend of the show, Kylie Jenner. They both could benefit from a slice of humble pie every now and again. Isn't that right, brother?
I love a slice of humble pie. I put a scoop of ice cream on top. We all need it. I think about it all the time, but I don't need it quite as much as Kylie Jenner.
Do you know what humble pie is?
The humble pie. I know what the phrase means. I don't know what the actual pie tastes like, if that's what you're asking.
It was. I was hoping for notes.
No, I don't know. I don't know what that means or what it tastes like, I guess.
Go to the diner, order the humble pie. Yeah, have a cigarette. Have a beer.
Oh God! Order the humble pie. Have a beer is so fucking funny. That's really funny.
I guess on the subject of food a little bit, even though it's fictional. Friend of the show, All Syrup No Squish, the food meme account. He sent me a message saying the streets need to know if Bradley Cooper's disrupting the sandwich space is the culinary version of Paris Hilton DJing to me. In many ways, yes. I only know very little about. I know a lot about Paris Hilton DJing. Who knew that she was going to be the most chill person out of all the celebrity DJs? But what's up with Bradley doing? Is it cheesesteaks?
I've heard it's
hoagies?
good.
What kind of food is it?
It's cheesesteaks, and I've heard it's good. I've not been, obviously, but I think he partnered with someone who's a well-known figure in the cheesesteak space, and they developed the concept together. I think it's pretty funny that it's in the East Village because that means they're catering to drunk people, so it doesn't have to be quite as good.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I appreciate Bradley branching out, using his money for good, because nothing New York needs more than a cheesesteak place.
But I guess in terms of the Paris Hilton DJing analogy, is this hurting small businesses who are trying to just get in? Is there a better concept going to a better person who needs it and deserves it more?
Opening a restaurant,
and if everyone
opening a restaurant is stupid, so you should let the celebrities do it so you don't lose your house. You know what I mean? Like that let Bradley Cooper can lose a couple $1 million on a cheesesteak venture, and he's gonna wake up the next day and feel good.
Yeah,
some of y'all can't do that. I can't do that.
I wonder if it'll reach that thing because, like, there's the. I think they made a joke about it on the Golden Globes about, the point of all of this is not art. It's to get a tequila company and never have to work again.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that going on, but also, in the podcast space during COVID, every celebrity had their own show. Obviously, the good stuck around and the bad left quietly into the night. Is there going to be a time where every celebrity, every dumbass, the situation... From the situation to a Maria Abramovich, is everyone going to have their own fat Sals or whatever that they hang their hat onto?
No, because
this is also very indie sleaze as well. It's very Ashton Kutcher got a piece of this, Thai steakhouse or whatever.
It's not, but there's no money to be made. That's the problem. Tequila, you could actually get rich. Opening a restaurant is very unlikely to work out. No matter if you're famous or not.
Yeah, but but I don't think I think if you're a celeb, it's like, hey, we're just going to pair you like a classic CAA pairing. We got the chef, we got the restaurant concept.
Totally.
We got the celebrity, put them all together. Bradley Cooper, he may have come out of pocket for this because he believes in it, but, is there a situation where, whoever, they just... Charlie XCX just gets, 10% of sales for being the spokesperson for this restaurant or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, that could happen, but let's hope it doesn't, because those Ashton Kutcher restaurants suck. No shots at Wilmer Valderrama, of course.
in the way
fellow
that
partner,
similar to a Bella Hadid Kin Euphoric deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. We do have a guest today, author, etc. Jonathan Ames is joining us. I think he's in New York. It looks New Yorkish, or maybe it's LA. Are you getting blown away, Jonathan?
I'm not getting blown away at the moment. I can see the wind out the window.
Okay, so you're with us physically.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Jonathan is here. Let's give him a jingle, and we're going to talk about weather for the next hour.
I'm physically not being lifted off like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz or something.
Because I've gotten some alarming emails today from places like Equinox, saying they're closing because of wind, which feels a little extreme to me in West Hollywood. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, Equinox. I actually just joined Equinox. First time I've joined a gym in I don't know, maybe 20 or more years.
The Gone effect.
What was the reasoning?
I very luckily spent like a lot of the last 5 months in Malibu swimming in the ocean, and I just so enjoyed swimming in the ocean every day. And I'm like, I've got to keep this going. And then I somehow got an email from Equinox, realized it was just down the street, and initiation fee waived. And I don't know, you guys both in LA?
Yeah, I'm in LA right now. Jason's in LA all the time, but I don't know if Equinox is going to compare to swimming in the ocean in Malibu every day, but hopefully it'll produce the same level of endorphins. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, it's maybe not the same level, but it's approaching like homeopathically a small dose of that level.
Okay.
And they have all these towels with eucalyptus on it. And
yes, sir.
I just had no idea that so many people were exercising. It's like a revelation to me. There's so many people in there that care about their bodies and their lives. It's remarkable.
Do you experience any 1980s resurgence? Like, you were around during the aerobics boom of the 80s, health is wealth, no pain, no gain, all that stuff. Is this similar to that, or is this trumping that?
Don't say that. Anyway, sorry, no, not to go there. I
was going to ask, is that why you joined the gym? Because you got voted in for the second term. But,
yeah,
sorry.
Well, I want to be strong for the madness that's coming, perhaps. Anyway, let's not go there.
It's hard to storm anything without that core strength, I've noticed.
You do need that.
Be it a Capitol or a treadmill.
Yeah, so in terms of whether it feels like the 1980s, I'm more like 1970s back of a comic book buying a chest expander, something like that, and seeing those like little cartoons of those guys looking strong. And I may have even ordered one of them. So my exercise stuff goes back to then. I remember Jane Fonda being popular and the leggings and all that, but I wasn't a part of that. But now I am part of I think I've just been out of it. I guess people have been exercising all along, but I'm just glad to see that so many people, at least while they're in the gym, are not behaving self-destructively, unless they're over-exercising, perhaps.
Depending on the location, there's definitely some self-destruction going on. But I would agree with you that overall, it is a positive. But yeah, people are exercising, but I think it's probably, Jason, you would agree, it's like peaking. It feels maybe bigger than ever.
Yeah, I think
in our lifetime, I would say.
Why do you guys think it's peaking or more or happening? Why are people exercising more?
Well, because people are partying less. So it's like, what else are you going to do? I think is part of it. And I also think people want to live longer. And I don't know if that's good or bad.
And also, social media is telling us that we need to be in better physical health.
Yeah.
And yeah, like Chris said, less partying, post-COVID, nobody goes out, alcohol sales down, marijuana sales, mental health, physical health, testosterone, peptides, all that shit,
Alcohol down, all those other things up. Okay, that's good to know for the investors in the audience.
For the investors in the audience. Yeah, we're moving more into the cannabis and psilocybin space for 2025, Jonathan. And speaking of cannabis, I want to know whose house you were staying at in Malibu all summer, brother.
I thought some things were going to happen, which didn't. Anyway, which is fine. The vicissitudes of Hollywood, whatever. But I had a little extra cash for a moment, thought more would be coming in, which turned out not to be the case. And I don't know, I always loved being at the beach. And my whole life as a kid,
sure,
our big vacation once a year was like a week at the Jersey Shore in a motel. And actually the first 2 days of the 7 or the 3 days, I would get terribly burnt. Like, I don't know, there wasn't sunblock back then. And
you look fair complexion wise. You do look susceptible.
Yeah, I was susceptible to like third degree Jersey Shore burns. And I'd be like lying in bed, fried. My father would be sitting on the edge of the bed smoking a cigar, trying to be soothing. And I had no means at that time to be like, the cigar smoke is not helping with the
it's not helping.
I'm trapped in sizzled skin.
Silence, boy.
Yeah, nevertheless, I love the ocean. And so I rented this small apartment for 5 months. And I swam every day and snorkeled. And it was a real beautiful beach. And it was idyllic.
How long did you stay there? Like, did you come back to LA when you had to, or were you like there for five months?
I came back when I had to, and I had to do like the audiobook recording of my novel. So I came back for 3 or 4 days, and I was sort of like trying to do this thing wow, I've got a place I could go on the weekend, but it was so amazing that I just stayed out there, my girlfriend and I. And so it was great. I loved it. But then it ended, and I don't have the means to rent it anymore. And then I got this fortuitous email from Equinox, which I keep wanting to pronounce Equinox, which is, I don't know, stupid.
No, I would say either work. It's a real Los Feliz, Los Feliz situation. It can really go either way.
I used to live over in Franklin Hills, which is Los Feliz or Los Feliz? Los Feliz. I haven't actually said that word out loud in a while, but I used to live next to Hyperion, and I think I'm mispronouncing Hyperion. Is it Hyperion?
You are. You're adding a little flair to it. You're adding a little flair to the end.
Well, I would argue that you, as a person, a wordsmith, are pronouncing it literally perfect, and everyone else is sort of fucking it up. And then when you correct them, they're like, "Shut up, nerd! You're a loser." It's Hyperion and not Hyperion.
Yeah.
So you are in the right.
Oh, okay, cool.
Not to worry. So you used to be like a Franklin, Hyperion, Los Feliz, Beachwood kind of cat.
Well,
in the 90s.
Well, No, I moved to LA 10 years ago. I
Okay.
was in New York for most of my life, and New Jersey. And yeah, I was over in Franklin Hills, Hyperion and Hillhurst were my kind of domain, Vermont also for
Sure.
the Los Angeles listeners. And
Sure,
then
sure.
Most of it takes place. This book that I'm holding up right here, A Man Named Doll. I was like, damn, this is really just taking me back to when I was in my early 20s living right over there. I missed the swing dancing movement. I wish you were there for that.
Oh, yeah, I don't think I ever swing dance. I once attended, I think this was in the 80s, a contra dance gathering at a church. There was a lot of stomping.
I'm not familiar with contra dance. If you,
Yeah, I don't know either.
Please explain.
Oh, well, I mean, I can't Google in the moment, but well, actually, swing dance is more formal, right? It's sort of like ballroom stuff, right? So
Yeah.
I got confused there was a craze, I think, in the 80s and 70s of sort of like country dancing. So contra dancing is like a lot of,
It's
I
like
think it's
river
like a
dance.
form of country
It's like
dance.
you line up in a row and you stomp and clap and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of lining up and stomping.
It's very Scottish, English leaning.
Yeah, and there's probably something that happens to the brain when you all stomp together. It's like, it's like in the same way, we eat together because we have the same chemicals happening. That's how the whole tradition of eating together, because then you get on the same chemical plane. It's probably why bars are popular, I mean, not according to you guys. They're on the downward trend.
Oh, I think if you go to some places, bars have been unaffected by the rise in wellness trends. I think in Tacoma you can still belly up any night of the week, and it's going to be full of your fellow
A good
drinkers.
bar is a good bar.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Tacoma
true.
backwards is Amocat. Sometimes I see words backwards, but that's neither here nor there.
Okay.
Don't flex. What's up? Are you dyslexic?
No, I'm probably the opposite of dyslexic. Like flex backwards is X-Elf.
Okay, this is impressive. I see this. I see how you get laid now. I see how you get laid now.
Okay, the four letter words less impressive, Jonathan. Let's do some. What's that Hyperion looking like? Can you blast that one real quick?
Noir epich.
Oh, you put some sauce on that too.
Sounds like
You put
Yiddish.
them-
And Jason Stewart is Trawwets No Satch. Chris Black is Kikalb Cirque. I'm sure you guys know that because you look in the mirror and say your name's backwards. You know that famous French film Stolen Kisses? And it was part of that series. I forget the famous filmmaker. It might have been Truffaut, and he had that guy Alain Delon, or maybe not Alain. I'm screwing everything up. In the age of Google, well, now actually fact checking is out. We heard, right? So just
We don't fact check on this podcast. Don't worry.
A 1968 French romantic comedy directed by Francois Truffaut, starring Jean-Pierre Léaud and
Yeah, good,
Okay,
quick
whatever.
Google there.
know.
Anyway, there's a moment in that film where he looks in the mirror. He's trying to build up his confidence, and he's saying his name, Alain Douanel, Alain Douanel, Alain Douanel. Like he's psyching himself up by saying his own name. So I had this image for a moment, you two guys saying your names backwards in the mirror, which is totally wrong. But Jason, are you standing on a platform? It's like your head looks like it's about to be hit by that fan.
I'm standing on the ground.
Really?
I'm a standing desk. Yeah.
Oh, but it's like must be a low ceilinged room. The perspective
He's
is
very tall. He's very tall.
It's also the angle, but yeah, I'm 6'9", but I'm
Holy
touching the ceiling right now.
Holy smokes. Yeah, you are tall. You are touching the ceiling. Damn. Okay. Well, that makes sense.
His office is more of a fun house vibe. That's really what he's going for. It's kind of there's a lot of weird mirrors in there. It's weird.
It's a twisted
weird.
little shack.
Where in LA are you both at the moment?
So I live in Glendale. Chris lives in New York more full time, but he's in West Hollywood right now as we speak.
Okay. I wonder, is it my Equinox that was threatening to close?
It's the West Hollywood. It's the gayest location, West Hollywood.
Okay, mine is in Hollywood on
Oh yeah, I know
Argyle.
I know that.
Which is a very Raymond Chandler address. Like in my books, they're all set like it's like Hollywood and Vine. Like I'm not like going to Equinox. I'm not like talking to dames and, flicking a cigarette onto the sidewalk.
So I met this broad on the old Cosmo and Ivar alleyway, see?
Yeah.
Down on Selma.
I like that. I like you saying eucalyptus towel in that voice. It really brings it all together.
So I put a eucalyptus towel on my face after my workout, and then I went outside and was in bed by 9.
Equinox Equinox pro tip. You can just take that when you're on the way out, grab one of the towels from the refrigerator. It's nice that they're cold on a hot summer day.
Yeah.
Wrap them around the neck like a scarf, and then walk straight out the front door with confidence. You're able to build up a pretty good stock of, if washing the car, little rags around the house. It's nice.
Yeah,
You need a pound of flesh when they're charging you.
Yeah, well, it's actually not that much money, and I had the initiation. I don't know if I would feel comfortable, to be honest, stealing the washcloths, but I do something very similar. I get coffee at the Oaks on Franklin and whatever Canyon, and when I get a coffee there, they have this big thing of like recycled napkins, not dirty napkins, but made from brown paper.
Sure. Okay.
And
Yes.
I grab a lot, and I'm like, I got all these napkins in a drawer. I really feel like I got a savings. I mean, I try to use napkins that you wash, but I don't end up washing them, and it's mostly just like wiping my face with something that's like pretty old and crusted. So I grab all these recycled napkins from the Oaks, like you stealing the washcloths from Equinox.
Well, I just gave you your solution. I've got so many washcloths.
Oh yeah, I could use those as napkins.
So right next to me is a sauna. So I am in.
That's a sauna?
It's a sauna, yeah.
It looks like a one of those Murphy beds. I mean, is that like a sauna where you just stand there like there's no room to sit? I can't. All the perspective with this camera is off.
It's a 2-seater sauna. It has Bluetooth speakers. I can watch movies, TV. There's a infrared light. It's real snazzy. Since I'm so tall, I only go in solo though. But I'm just saying, start stealing washable fabric towels. No more recyclable napkins.
Also, Equinox is a giant corporation. The Oaks is a small business for local thoughts and to get cheese and wine. And you got, I mean,
Can't believe you would steal from a small business, Jonathan. Frankly, it makes me sick.
I'm like, their napkin expense. They're like, why are we losing so much money on napkin or something? Like
the P&L looks bad after you go.
They're installing a Ring camera above the napkins right now just to catch you.
I actually only take 2 or 3, but like I don't need that many just to make it clear. But it's cool that you're into saunas. That's like one of my biggest hobbies in life. Is I go to the Russian baths over on Santa Monica, Voda Spa in New York. I basically lived at the 10th Street baths, which is why I never went to a gym. Like the baths were my gym because, if you sweat, your heart is doing a lot and you're changing your water. That's how I think of it. And our brains are made mostly of water. And so it's good to go in these things and sweat. And then I would do a little bit of yoga if it wasn't too crowded. But what kind of sauna is that? Infrared or what's it?
Yeah, infrared.
Oh, wow.
Afterwards, I'll send you a link to it. But I really like changing your water. I'm writing that down right now for something.
Yeah,
this is hitting close to home because I heard a unconfirmed report yesterday from my friend Ash saying that Higher Dose, which is the New York kind of infrared spa place, has closed their original location in the Howard Hotel, and this leaves me saunaless for the near future.
Oh, go to the 10th Street Baths, man. It's classic, and you get great Russian food.
Jonathan, I've been there, but I've been there before. Not my flavor.
No,
not my flavor. I like to be alone.
Okay, yeah. Well, my whole thing back when I lived in New York, I'd get there around 8:30. Closes like at 9:30, and I feel like you only need an hour to 45 minutes if you don't take a lot of breaks. And it was usually pretty empty then.
Yeah.
But I hear you. It's good to be. Well, that's good. You've got your own closet sauna that you can just be alone in. You should get one of these infrareds.
Honestly,
he's definitely in the closet.
That's where I get all my reading done. Well, and speaking of that, Chris, I would say, Jonathan, showing up to the bathhouse, the final hour of the day, isn't that sort of risky territory?
I mean,
is that getting into a little
in terms of germs or what?
No, in terms of hand jobs.
In terms of sexual behavior.
Oh, Well, no, I don't like why was the last hour more risk for that? There was a guy
I
at the Russian baths who like gave
I
massages.
have a good answer for you, Jonathan. I'll let you finish.
I never saw any of that, to be honest. All my years there, there were like private rooms, and but there was like some guy. I guess he was one of the professional masseurs there, and I guess I don't know. He must have been really taking liberties with a lot of people over the decades, and finally it reached a boiling point. And anyway, but he was a I never got a massage from him.
So you're saying he would give a massage and maybe get a little. He would go into areas maybe he shouldn't have gone into, and after a while, the people got fed up.
Yeah, but it took a long time though. Like
Well,
guess
it takes
I guess there've been so many
it takes everyone different amounts of time to reach their boiling point, Jonathan. Okay, we're all different and we're all built in our different ways. And I like the way you use the word boiling point in terms of ejaculation related stuff. But I brought that up because in
I used that, or did Chris use that?
no, you said boiling point. You
I
said
would
reach.
never.
I was like, oh, I can't wait to reach
okay,
my
I did.
boiling point tonight. You know what I mean?
My dementia is kicking in. It's like
Kicking
I'm
in?
forgetting things from 5 seconds ago. All right, go ahead. Yes,
That's what
Talk about my
we're
book.
here for.
Yes.
In your book, A Man Named Doll, there's a the main character works at a kind of Thai massage place, seedy spot in Hollywood. Never been to a place like that ever. But he mentions that he's hired as a security guard because at the end of the night, people show up, they get a little drunk, maybe they're a little loaded, they get a little handsy. That's when, the action goes down.
Oh yeah.
After
yeah.
dark.
Well, yeah, he was the security guy. Yeah, that's true. I did postulate that, not based on any knowledge, really. And I don't even know if these places have security guys. But I thought that would be a good job for a PI who's kind of down and out, like, that he's a security guard at a massage place. That's, not like, it's not like that guy Sugar and, the Colin Farrell TV series. He's not wearing fancy clothes. He's a down and out PI in that first book. And just since I'm here, the new one in that series, the third book in that series is coming out next week, Karma Doll. So the first one was A Man Named Doll. The second one was The Wheel of Doll. And the third one is Karma Doll. He increasingly gets into Buddhist philosophy as the books progress as a way to try to deal with all his confusion and the violence in his life.
What is your level of understanding of the Buddhist faith? Did you have to do a lot of personal research?
Well, first of all, I've done a lot of reading about Buddhist philosophy or books by Buddhist philosophers. I don't see it so much personally as a faith as a philosophy, because there's not necessarily a deity, and the Buddha is the original great teacher, but they would feel that many of the teachers are, trying to have a Buddha spirit. And yeah, so I've read a lot of books about it, and I've taken great comfort in reading those books. I've learned a lot, mostly which is that, or just so many things, but just a few pithy things. We are what we think. It's so important to control our negative thinking, our looping, our obsessing. And if you're engaging in all that all the time, or anger, it shapes who you are. Another thing is taking responsibility for everything in your life. Everything going on begins with you. So it's like not at all about being a victim, which is interesting for a private investigator because he's helping people that sometimes do get victimized, but they might bring upon through their choices the dark things that happen to them. So yeah, I've read a lot of stuff. I read a lot of Dalai Lama. I just love it. I find it very soothing. Sort of become a practice to try to read just 1 or 2 pages every morning as a way to sort of change my thinking. Sort of like changing my water in the baths. Like Buddhism has changed my thinking, and sort of realizing that, there's a great, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Buddhist term samsara. It's basically doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And we're all in all sorts of samsaric situations. And so to try to undo, Einstein called insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. You liberate yourself and maybe wake up. Buddha or Buddhism means to wake up. Like you're trying to wake up to the suffering that you cause yourself. Sorry if that's negative or for a podcast.
No.
Chris needed to hear all of that, so I think that was great, Jonathan.
I like you guys are two sides of one brain, so I like when you. It's like you are able to.
I'm gonna definitely try to take down a couple Buddhist pages every morning, level myself out before I hit the mean streets of New York. I think that would really help me in the new year.
Yeah, well, and there's some really very accessible writers, like I'm sure you've heard of Thich Nhat Hanh or Pema Chodron or the Dalai Lama's great books. I've been reading this one guy named Eknath Esawaran. I think he's Hindu, but he writes...
No, wait, don't read the name backwards. Read it forwards so our listeners can pick it up.
Esawaran, that's Nora. I can't say that backwards. I can't, because I can barely say it forward, to be honest. But I do
that's a tough one.
I finally stumped him.
You met your match.
I like his first name, though, Eknath. Though I think actually it's
name.
like his second name. But anyway, on we go.
So other than your sauna lifestyle, swimming in the Mother Pacific, cleansing you, changing your water, your brain, Buddhism, I also want to know what your relationship is with drugs, specifically marijuana, and if, in your humble opinion, if you were to mix marijuana and alcohol together, what would be the ideal amounts of substances and what types, please?
Huh.
I feel like you know how to ride that line.
Well, let's see.
Let's see.
Well, I'm
Mr. Burns mode right now.
Yeah, I want to. What a great character Mr. Burns is, though. I mean, what a tormented figure, and the way he's drawn, and then his little assistant. Anyway, all these things are so. These great. That's why it's probably lasted so long. These characters are like straight out of id archetypes, all of them.
I agree.
Let's see. With alcohol, well, I'm older now, and I can't seem to tolerate alcohol at all. I used to drink too much at different times, and then I would get sober. There's a Buddhist notion of mistaking pain for pleasure. I was running from myself for years, and alcohol is a way to run from yourself. And you also, you talked about social media telling you guys, be healthy, go to the gym. We have all this language of the world saying drink. It's a way to connect with others. Mm-hmm. It's romantic. It's cool. It's,
take a load off.
It's Humphrey Bogart. It's Charles Bukowski. It's, the Round Table. It's Dorothy Parker. But alcohol is a poison that affects every organ of the body negatively. So I'm at the point in my life where I really can't absorb that much alcohol. I got a little bit of red wine with a meal, and I might still be under the sway of that huge advertising stuff that went down a while ago. Like, red wine is good for you.
You definitely are. You're susceptible to that too.
I find that French red wine, they probably have less chemicals, does not create much hangover at all. I get so hungover. I can't drink alcohol at all. There was a time when I used to love to smoke weed and drink and like take a hit of a joint and blow the smoke into like a shot or a glass of tequila and then drink the tequila with the smoke and just
now we're talking
and be elsewhere, oblivion of sort or momentary oblivion, a glimpse of nirvana. And nirvana in Buddhist terms is a place absent of labels, though, where there's no good or bad, right or wrong, beautiful or ugly. It's the connection of everything. That's why Buddhism is really into the lotus flower, because the idea is that you need the mud to have the flower. We need our confusion and the mistakes we make to get to places of greater clarity and less suffering, causing ourselves less suffering and causing others to suffer less. So anyway, but now I still indulge in cannabis. It doesn't have much impact on me because of maybe having smoked a fair amount off and on over the years.
Your tolerance level has increased.
So as the character says, it's kind of like a placebo. But again, even there are karmic consequences for anything we do that might be out of balance. So putting a joint in your mouth, inhaling smoke onto your tongue, you could be creating opportunity for cancer. Living in Los Angeles, there is already a lot of smoke. I keep going down negative pathways here, negative brain pathways. Like Chris is sitting back. I like it when you laugh. I'm just getting to know you guys. Like you're a ready laugher, which is good. You have some natural joy in there, even if you feel oppressed by the streets of New York and think you need Buddhist philosophy.
I have a lot of natural joy, and thank you for noticing that. I think some people don't think that is true, but I know it to be true.
Yeah, I mean, you've laughed a lot.
Right now, specifically at this very moment, he's just in a situation that may be interesting. I would say. I don't know how much you want to divulge, Chris.
I'm sitting on the floor in an empty house podcasting with you guys because of the timing today. So we've recorded this podcast in very far flung places all over the world. This might be the weirdest thing I've ever done. Somehow.
And you're gonna podcast with me from Singapore in like a week and a half. And it's going to be like 7 days different time difference from me. You being 10 minutes down the street in your house is more bizarre than that. I agree.
It's I don't know how it. Have you been to Singapore before, Jonathan?
No, I've never been to Asia, which I don't know if I'll make it there in my life. But I've been to Australia once.
Why not? Come on, Jonathan.
Why not?
It's easier to get to Asia than Malibu. All this traffic.
Well, no, come on. I mean, that is the beauty of Malibu, though. It's like you have this great spot that's only like 50 minutes away.
Did you make friends?
You're right.
Did you make friends with people down there, or were you going to Chrome Hearts? Were you going to Blue Bottle? Where were you going every day?
I mean, there was the supermarket area and a place called Zinc. I went there a lot. And that's where I got coffee and food. And then there was a Whole Foods market that I traipsed about and shopped. And I really enjoyed but
it's funny. We're having deja vu right now. Sorry to interrupt, Jonathan, because we had Jay McInerney on this pod a few months ago. New York writer around your age.
Yeah.
And he was living in Malibu, and he was telling us about how the only thing to really do is go for a swim and then go to the supermarket. grab a coffee at Zinc.
The difference is Jonathan was in a rental that he was happy to be in, and Jay is married to a Hearst. So the furnishings might have been a little different. I don't want to put that on you, Jonathan.
But also that makes my point. That's the beauty of Malibu. You could be a king or a street sweeper. You still only got 3 places to go to: your house, the supermarket, or the coffee shop. And whether you're Rick Rubin or me.
Yeah, and I was right on the beach. He might have been up in the hills a little bit. Maybe he was on the beach. But you asked if I met people.
Get your money up, Jay.
Like a Malibu Road, which is the beach I was at, the Malibu Road beach. There are a lot of beautiful houses on the beach, and eventually it connects to that famous area called the Colony, which was in the movie The Long Goodbye with Elliot Gould by the famous director, whose name I'm blanking on just because of pressure of the podcast. But anyway, most of these houses are empty all the time. And so the beach is pretty empty, but there's a few dwellings like the one I was in that might have 4 units, 6 units. And so people were living in these smaller apartments right on the beach. And so 90% of the beach would be empty, even in July and August. But there was a few locals, and the apartment I was in was next to a bunch of locals, and we did get friendly with some interesting older people, mostly retired. And like there was this guy, he swam every day, wonderful guy. He was in his mid-80s. He'd been a Navy SEAL in 1960. Before they were the Navy SEALs, they were something else, having to do with explosives. And but then later was an advertising exec living in some cute little apartment on top with a beautiful view of everything. And he became a nice friend. And then there was a woman on the beach who had a wonderful dog who became a dear friend to my dog. They would wrestle endlessly, which was very joyful. So yeah, there were some really sweet people that I got friendly with. You
found your people. That's good.
Okay, Jonathan, I feel like this year we're gonna sell something. Something's going to get optioned, and we're going to get you back to Malibu by the time summer comes around. Is that something that you would want to do, Jonathan?
I wouldn't say no. Malibu backwards. For some reason, I'm doing the backwards thing is Ubi Lamb. But
Ubi lamb.
I went back there a week later because I love swimming, so I even went in the cold water. It was like Christmas Eve, and I just love it. Like the hot, the cold, all these healthy things.
Sure.
And
Cleansing.
so I hope to make it back there, or I just love the ocean. It's something that, and it's such big nature. And of course, yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get negative about what we're doing to the oceans.
You've got a lot of quotes. You should. I mean, it's no wonder you're a writer, Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
But you just say this stuff.
Yeah.
Big nature. 2 very simple words. Put them together. It evokes something grander. But another line that I pulled from the book that made me want to talk to you about food. It seemed like the main character was preparing himself what's known as girl dinner. Is that something that you've heard of?
I've not heard of it. I sort of infer the meaning of that that meaning.
You've got context clues. Okay, well,
what's a girl dinner? Is it low calories or?
That's part of it.
Well, that's part of it.
That's part of it.
It also has to be rich in omega-3s and easy to assemble. So here's exactly
Why
what
is that
you
a
say
girl
in
dinner? That's but anyway, go on.
Don't take offense, Jonathan. Don't take offense.
No,
This is a good
I
thing.
like it. I'm just
You
trying to
gendered it, Jason. You gendered it. You did this.
I don't make the rules. I just report it. Okay,
Jonathan. It's a meme. It's a popular format. It's not like something we made up.
Oh,
We'll get into it more.
Okay.
But I want to say this is the plate that your character, a retired police officer who is a security guard at a Thai massage parlor, little seedy. He had a plate of pickles, crackers, sauerkraut, and a can of mackerel whipped up with vegan mayonnaise. And that seems like a peculiar meal.
That is disgusting.
For and very specific ingredients for this type of, you think he's going to be eating a greasy Tommy burger in his car or Jack in a Box or something. Obviously, this character and your personal life have some similar crossovers, I'm sure. Do you eat in this manner, and why veganese with the mackerel?
Let's see. Well, I do. There was a time when I ate more canned fish than I eat now. And also, speaking of the oceans, the smaller the fish, the less mercury. They're less like a thermometer. Because their bodies are smaller, I guess, and they're nutritious, and basically, I don't know why I specified veganese in that book. I think sometimes I just grab that off because in my mind maybe the veganese not made from eggs will last longer in your fridge or not be maybe less bad, but my cooking is such that mayonnaise makes everything really good, and
Amen,
so. The mayonnaise is key. And there was a time when, I might just have some pickles and sauerkraut. All those things are very healthy, though, that whole meal.
Absolutely.
In the second book, he gets some cash and he buys a steak at Gelson's and he cooks it up, but and maybe he grabs some greens, but he basically had a steak and pickles, the pickle with his fiber and his salad.
Yeah.
I had an interesting food thing happen during COVID. I went totally vegan the first 9 or 10 months.
What's her name, Jonathan?
What's my name?
What's her name? Who made you do this?
Oh no! I was just like, what? I was like, what's your name, Jonathan? I'm like, whoa.
Her name was Krishna, and she told me how to eat this way.
Oh yeah, Hari, first name Hari, last name Krishna.
Well, I don't know. It was just like. I don't know, COVID hit, we're all losing our minds. It was like, did it come from animal markets? Anyway, I'm like, I'm going to go vegan. I don't know. And so I went.
Oh, okay, I see.
I went.
So I stopped eating Chinese food for the same reason. I get it, Jonathan.
So anyway, I went vegan, but I might have still had some canned fish here and there. And
Sure.
I had pretty strong 9 months of it. And I weigh about 160. I'm 5'10" and a half, 160, maintain that,
Yeah.
And I was once known as the Herring Wonder, though. I had a boxing match and 2 of them in my 30s and 40s. And I named myself after herring because I used to eat a lot of herring back then. Anyway, so I go vegan, a little bit of canned fish, but mostly vegan. And my body disappeared. I was down to like 139 pounds.
Wow.
Goals.
And I was just like, in some ways, I thought it was kind of cool. Like, wow, look what's happening. But my watch was going from my wrist to my elbow. I was like disappearing. I just sort of accepted it. And then I
It became
used
an upper armband, kind of Madonna style.
yeah, it was just like sliding all over the place, and my legs were disappearing. And so then I went on I did a Zoom performance. I used to be very involved with the Moth storytelling in New York.
Yeah.
And I did a Zoom thing, which was the weirdest thing. It was like performing for 1,000 people, but just looking at your own face with no feedback, no laughter. And I hosted the thing. And the next day I emailed everyone going, hey, great job, everyone. Don't know how you all feel, but I'm really drained. And this woman, a dissident poet from China, who was a professor in Minnesota, who also knows a lot about herbal medicine, she wrote me, I'm not surprised, in a one-off, I'm not surprised you're drained. You seem like you seem to have no chi. And I was like, I was a little wounded, but I'm like, oh, and I wrote back,
Bitch.
yeah, like no chi. I want to at least have life force, So I wrote back saying,
At least.
I wrote back and I thought I had done a good job on the show. It was like, God, I was a chi-less person up there.
Not bad for a chi-less motherfucker, but yeah, you could use some chi.
Yeah.
So she could tell through the Zoom that you were void of chi.
Yeah. And I wrote back, I said, I haven't been eating any meat or animal products for 9 months. Do you think that's in? She's like, I don't know. Go to a Chinese herbalist and they'll get you fixed up. Okay. And so then that night I woke up around 2 a.m. starving. I was just like, I'm starving. I had insomnia, hunger. And so the next day I staggered into Gelson's. I'm a terrible cook, like canned fish with mayonnaise is like the height of my cuisine. And I stagger into Gelson's. I go to the meat department and the butcher's hanging meat up. And I said, do you have a grass-fed or organic steak? And he said, well, I got this grass-fed. And he points to a New York strip. And I said, how do you cook it? I have a pan. And he said, 7 minutes on one side, 4 on the other side. And then let it cool down and then eat it. Something like that. It was real basic instructions. I'm like, okay, I'll have 2. I take 2. I stagger home. I cook the steak on the frying pan. And it was so good. And again, and I had the second one that night.
Wow.
Double stack.
And a friend of mine, this comedian, Murray Hill, he started calling me Johnny Two Steak because I told him how I ate these 2 steaks and like I felt so much better. And yeah, and I sort of went back to a more balanced diet and I put the 20 pounds back on and my muscles, my Popeye muscles came back.
Okay.
And
that's a great,
so that's the story of that.
I want to know, I was not poking fun, but I've always been envious of people who are able to eat canned mackerel and sardines and all those tiny, super healthy, good for you, inexpensive proteins. I find it disgusting. Other than I love canned tuna fish, that's fine. But once you get into the herrings and the mackerels and the sardines,
well, if you get,
it's too much for me.
Well, maybe try it again. Have an open mind, and slather it in mayonnaise and put it on some toast with some lettuce, and it might go down and you didn't even realize it.
Luckily, I am a mayonnaise lover.
Did you live on a boat at some point, or did you come to this naturally?
I think I came to it naturally. I think herring is deep in my DNA.
Are you Swedish?
No, I'm another ish. I'm Jewish.
Ah, yes. The most popular ish, if you ask me.
You people love a herring, don't you?
Yeah. Herring is good, and I realized it was a powerful source of fish because one time, this sounds like a interesting segue, but I was on a Greenpeace boat for 2 weeks, embedded as a journalist in Alaska.
Wow.
Which was really interesting. The Greenpeace people were so beautiful. They came from all over the world. They were so idealistic. I asked everyone, do you think there's hope for the planet? And they're like, no. Like they thought the planet's going to make it, not humans, but they still were going to try to fight the good fight. There was young people from all over the world. It was like 2003. And we were up in Alaska in the intercoastal there, which is like the world's second largest rainforest in the world after the Amazon. But of course, so much of it's been clear cut and native lands destroyed. A lot of issues up there. And so anyway, one night I was out on the deck of the ship. We were like docked in some beautiful island. And I was out there and you could hear the whales breaching in the darkness. And I was on the deck with some scientists, and I noticed along the little lights along the edge of the boat, I was seeing these streams of beautiful silver fish. I go, what are those? And he said, herring. That's what the whales out there are eating. I'm like, herring? Because when I had my boxing match in '99 and named myself the Herring Wonder, I sort of did it as a joke, like that I would be strong from eating herring and have herring breath in the ring and all that. and then I was like, oh my God, whales, the most powerful creatures in the world. They're feasting on herring. I wasn't so wrong.
Wow.
There is something there.
There is something there. Did you win or lose the boxing match?
I lost terribly that first fight. I fought a guy who in the MTV era was known as the Impact Addict. He was kind of like a performance artist, Evel Knievel, or poor man's Evel Knievel. And he had actually had some fights, and we knew each other in the East Village. And this was in '99 at Angel Orange Sons, that beautiful 19th century synagogue. And we had like 600 people, kind of a pre-internet event. I wrote for a local rag, no longer exists, New York Press, and we had a full page ad. I trained for 3 months at Gleason's gym, but I gave up like 25 pounds, broke my nose 10 days before the fight training. But we went through the fight because we had like rented the place, like tickets had been sold. And my opponent, which would have made the fight bad, said, I won't hit you in the head. Of course, in the first round, he immediately went for my head and re-broke my nose in the second round. It was a 4-round fight. It was supposed to be 2-minute rounds, but we had a punch-drunk timekeeper, and there were 3-minute rounds. So I don't know if you guys have done any boxing at Equinox, but like 12 minutes of a public beating, that was rough.
Longest 12 of your life.
Yeah, it was.
You don't seem not tough, but you also don't seem like I'd walk by you in the street and I wouldn't feel scared. You know what I mean?
I walk by me in the street and I do feel scared. I'm perpetually anxious, but we all are. That's why I read the Buddhist stuff. But I had been an athlete. I had fenced in college, played a lot of street basketball, and I loved the notion of like putting on the boxing trunks, like playing like a superhero.
Yeah.
I like that you're equating fencing to boxing because it's so similar yet so different.
That's true.
Well, they both involve distance. They're both martial arts of a form. The sword is an extension of the hand. I was a saber fencer, which was the most romantic, the most slashing of the weapons. The other ones use the point for scoring.
Right.
But and I'd had a fascination with boxing, so I got into the ring, but I had never fought before. Took a beating. Was really messed up. I wrote my column that night to make sure my brain still worked, kind of like the way George Foreman, after he lost to Ali, counted backwards from 1,000. He said to make sure his brain was still working.
Wow.
But then I had a second fight in 2007. I got challenged by a publishing house to fight a Canadian writer who was coming down to the States for his book called The Boxer.
You better have beat his ass, little Canadian.
I did. I won that fight. Even though
Hell yeah.
He was bigger than me. But the second time, if you guys know sports, things get slower. Like, I did a lot of clinching, though, because I'm like, every moment I'm holding on to him, I'm not getting hit. Because my jaw had gotten out of line from training. I had gotten hit in the jaw, and it was a little bit off. I was really scared about getting my jaw broken, and I had no insurance at the time. It was like a typewriter that had gotten out of line. Eventually, it fell back into line.
Thank God.
But I won that fight in 2007, and the guy in my former opponent was in my corner, kind of like Apollo Creed.
Oh, that's nice.
Now helping Rocky.
The Impact Addict came back.
Yeah, and
That's sweet of him.
My camp was called Camp Herring, and we even had T-shirts made. And Russ and Daughters, this famous herring purveyor in New York, came to the fight and was giving out herring to the audience.
I bet it smelled great in there. A little blood and herring.
And sweat. Yeah, because it was at Gleason's. We were supposed to fight.
People must have been clamoring on top of each other to get that free herring.
I noticed that the people, I don't think they ate as much as I would have hoped.
I noticed.
I just saw there's some really good there's some really great old photos of that first boxing match. I believe you were dating Fiona Apple at the time, and that kind of has the romantic look to each other in those old black and white photos. It was really cool.
That was the second fight, actually. Yeah.
Oh, that was the second fight.
Yeah, the first fight in '99. There was a picture of the first fight in the New York Times, like an overhead shot. Oh, you want to know something cool about that first fight? Is the main sponsor of that fight was this guy named Josh Harris, who started this internet company called pseudo.com. And on our ring, it said pseudo, and our fight was actually broadcast over the internet. It was about the size of a postage stamp, because that's all you could see in terms of like bandwidth back then. He later lost all his money, but there was a great documentary about him called "We Live in Public."
Oh yeah. I'm familiar with that.
Yeah. So he sponsored the fight in '99, and the great artist Matthew Barney was one of the judges ringside, because he's into sports and Creme Master and all that stuff. I've never actually seen a Matthew Barney film.
I haven't either.
Have you?
No, I haven't either. I work with J. Crew, and he's famously a J. Crew. He was a J. Crew model in like the heyday of J. Crew, and we always try to get him back, and he does not respond to those requests.
This is a factoid about me. Believe it or not, you wouldn't think it seeing me here, obviously. But when I was 20, I had some brief success as a male model. I got sort of discovered by Bruce Weber, and I was on the fencing team in college, and I had
that's okay. Now it's fencing team. I'm sure your shirt came off in these photos.
Well, not just my shirt, and so a picture of
Bruce's
me was in the Whitney Biennial.
Wow.
Bruce Weber's did this thing on athletes.
Yeah.
And so my picture in 1985 was in the Whitney Biennial with a towel draped around my midsection, showing a little bit of butt cheek. And I was in a swing, and my great aunt went to the museum, and she's like, "I saw you naked." But it was pretty cool.
So you don't have a print of this or anything, just the memory?
Well, no, I have a print. Incredibly, like I had like a modeling book, right? And I ended up in a Fernando Sanchez lingerie ad around the same time that Bruce Weber discovered me. I got this gig where I was in boxer shorts lying beneath three beautiful models, including Beverly Johnson and some other famous models, and I was lying underneath. I did 500 sit-ups the night before, and this photographer named Horst, very famous Vogue photographer, who shot through this box, and they brought me in front of him, and he said, "He looks like a statue." And that was my only interaction with the famous guy. And I made like $800 that day. And I took that money and I went to Europe, and I was supposed to go to Milan and be a model. But I was so entranced with Hemingway, I got into a terrible bar fight in Paris and got my nose broken. And I called my agent, who later became a famous modeling agent, who I had found through the Yellow Pages, because I was taking a year off from college. I joined the Army to pay for college. A friend of mine said, "You should be a model." Some guy on the campus took my pictures. I had these pictures. I went to the Yellow Pages. I found a modeling agency that was being run out of an apartment. This guy, Michael, and I called, payphone. I'm like, "I have some pictures." I was 20 years old. I go and I bring him the pictures. Michael Flutie, if you guys know anything about fashion, went on to become a famous agent. This was 1984. He sends the pictures by messenger over to Bruce Weber, and I go take the train back to Princeton, where I was in school, and I get a call in the morning. Bruce Weber had looked at the pictures. "Bruce Weber wants to meet you." So I go back into the city. Anyway, I modeled for like 8 weeks, and then I was supposed to go to Milan, and I did an advertisement for like football gear or something. And I did the Fernando Sanchez thing and a few little things. And I had cobbled together like maybe $1,000, which was a lot in '84.
Yeah.
And I went to Europe and was supposed to go to Milan. And then, like I said, I got in this terrible fight, and I called Michael Flutie. "My nose is broken. I don't know if I can get to Milan. I should wait." He's like, "Quit modeling. It's a terrible business." Something had happened. He was quitting. He later came back. We're still friends, like 40 years later. And so I became an au pair in Paris for this French family. I was an au pair garçon américain for like 6 months. It was a great turn of events. I need to contact my old family. I've been out of touch, but anyway, it was wonderful.
That's a real roller coaster. That's a
Yeah.
real roller
I don't.
coaster.
You're probably the first. You're the first boxer / au pair I've ever met, and may has ever existed. Perhaps
That would be cool. Sometimes like when you write a sentence or you say something like, in the history of language, this may never have been said before, perhaps in all the permutations of words, right? Or this exact sentiment or something. Probably not, though, But that said, you may be right. I may be one of the few people, but whoever was a male au pair in Paris and then later had performance art stunt boxing matches. That might be my one.
Yeah, you got to be the only guy. You got to be the only guy.
It sounds like you could do everything but breastfeed, right?
Yeah, I had in my TV show, I had one of the characters try to breastfeed to soothe the child, and he put whiskey on his nipple.
Bored to death.
Yeah, Zach Galifianakis put whiskey on his nipple and held a baby there. It was like a silly thing.
Feels like something that Zach Galifianakis would do in his spare time when cameras aren't rolling, kind of. So he's probably the right guy for that.
With or without the camera.
I mean, there was this book by an author, Mark Lehner, and it was something like, Why Do Men Have Nipples? He also wrote a lot of literature. And I never read the book, but it is a good question. Why do men have nipples? Why in the course of evolution maybe at one time we did breastfeed?
Wow.
And these are like
I think they're just God decided it would look weird if they weren't there. You know what I mean? It's like hubcaps or address numbers on a house. It's
gotta
just
have
like
it.
It would be weird if it was smoothed over. You just gotta have it.
I agree with you. There's a certain rationale there, but there's a lot of function to our bodies.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
How's that for a profound statement? There's a lot of function.
You dropped
said
a
it,
lot
brother.
of jewels today, but damn, the body is crazy. That's true.
The body is remarkable. I once had a chiropractor say to me, the world's greatest pharmacy is in your own body. And that was very true. I'm into psychosomatic stuff, though. Have you guys ever read Healing Back Pain, The Mind-Body Connection by Dr. Sarno?
It's been a long time, but yeah.
I'm familiar, but I've not read it.
I highly recommend it. If your neck or back is hurting, anyone out there listening, really, you just ask yourself, has something stressful happened? And because usually neck and back pain is preceded by something we're either very angry about or very anxious about, or a combination of anxiety and anger. Yeah, I was in this documentary about Sarno called All the Rage, and I actually got to meet Sarno. And speaking of the boxing thing, I had one of my characters say, because like when I was in the ring in the first fight, my trainer was going, Jonathan, get angry, get angry. Later, I had Jason Schwartzman say, I don't get angry, I go straight to depression, which is a common thing for a lot of people. But I said to Sarno, I don't really get angry. I said, I go to sadness. And he said, well, you might be angry that you're sad. Because he saw suppressed anger as a big cause for a lot of neck, back, all these other psychosomatic issues we have, stomach, IBS, rashes, arthritis, asthma. So many of these things begin in the mind.
I like you might be angry that you're sad.
Yeah.
There's something there.
That must be why my body feels like shit all the time. I thought it was because I was working out too much, but I think it's all mental problems.
Yeah, well, the Buddha said,
not all, but most.
What you think you become. So that's why you have to work with your thinking.
This has been a very insightful episode of How Long Gone. I feel like I'm walking away with a lot.
I've got a page of notes here, and I'm looking forward to figuring out a way to release some anger today. I don't know how that's going. What do you think the best way to release anger is, Jonathan?
Well,
outside of boxing,
I think first of all, acknowledge that you're angry. Okay,
I'm out.
And let's say you're looping with anger about something or resentment. So there's this Buddhist practice called Tonglen. So try to stop a moment, right? Okay, and just breathe in the notion that you're angry. Just breathe in the sensation of the anger, without all the storytelling, without all the narrative, right? So you breathe it in, and you hold it because you're strong. You can handle it. And then on the exhale, send yourself compassion. Think of it as like a watermill. You breathe in the anger just without the narrative, and on the exhale, send yourself compassion. On the second inhalation, breathe in the anger again, and also breathe in all the anger for all the other human beings who might be angry about something similar. And on the exhale, send them compassion as well as yourself. Then if there's a person who's making you angry, breathe in their pain. You know how everyone is like, gives off a heat signature of pain. Like both you guys, you're very sweet, you're doing well in life, but you've had, I'm sure painful childhoods or painful, like things go on. There's life is full of struggle. So you breathe in this person that's annoying you, breathe in their pain signature, like their heat signature. Suddenly they're like not a monster or a jerk. They're just a confused human being. So you breathe in their pain and you send them compassion or love. And that 3 breaths can kind of break the cycle of anger and looping. Then the anger might come back and you do it again. And even if the other person is a jerk, they're just confused. It doesn't mean you have to like spend time with them, you know what I mean, or be a doormat, but you can have compassion because turning the anger into compassion makes you feel better, makes you suffer less. When we're angry, we're very unhappy and we injure our bodies and we make bad choices. And we say, so you want to work with your thinking, your speech, and your body so as not to create further suffering for yourself or others. Those are the 3 things you have control over: your thinking, your speech, and what you do with your body.
Wow, Jonathan, thank you. You said those, you said it was called Tonglen? Is that
Tonglen, Tonglen.
Okay.
The definition is transfer. You're just sort of, and I'm not a Buddhist. I just read this stuff and I misinterpret a lot of it, but it's trying to turn negative emotions into compassion and love and and acceptance.
All right.
Just some light stuff. Jonathan, thank you for joining us.
Jonathan, thank you so much. You've inspired me in many ways, but I'm also going to try to see how much mayonnaise I have to add to herring to make it palatable. I will keep you posted. Don't worry. You said the 3rd book in the doll installations comes out this week or next week?
Yeah, next week, January 14th, Karma Doll.
Karma Doll.
And I really appreciate you guys having me on. You have a very nice rapport, and we've never met, but you were very friendly and warm to me, and I appreciate it.
Our pleasure, Jonathan.
Oh, thank you. We feel the same way. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Well, good luck with your move.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we're going to get you in Malibu by this summer. Don't worry, John. We'll stay in touch, okay?
All right. Thank you. Goodbye.